Well, it is a tragedy that continues to fascinate. After more than a century, the Titanic hitting an iceberg and sinking in April 1912. The wreckage was only discovered in 1985, and since then more than 5,000 artefacts have been retrieved from the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Many of them are kept in a warehouse in the US state of Georgia. Our science editor Rebecca Morrell has been given rare access.
Relics from the most famous maritime disaster in history. From parts of the ship to passengers' belongings. Everything here is a reminder of a tragedy at sea more than 100 years ago.
I can't reveal the location of where I am. All I can say is that this warehouse is somewhere in Atlanta because what's inside here is incredibly precious. Thousands of items recovered from the Titanic, and every single one of them tells a story.
This is a really beautiful little fashionable bag, and it belonged to Marion Meanwell. She was a 63-year-old milliner, which means she did all the little detail work on hats and dresses. And she was traveling to the US to be with her daughter, who was recently widowed.
Inside it was a medical card. All third-class passengers had to show they weren't bringing disease into the US, but it also reveals a twist of fate.
What's really interesting is that we can see she was originally supposed to sail on the Majestic. She actually got rerouted onto Titanic.
So unlucky.
The Titanic sank in 1912 and lies at the bottom of the Atlantic. All of the items were recovered from a debris field that surrounds the wreck, where the contents of the ship spilled out as it split apart. Titanic was on her maiden voyage, travelling from Southampton to the US when she hit an iceberg. The ship, made from thousands of thick steel plates, was thought to be unsinkable.
These are rivets. They held each of the layers of the hull overlapping together to form the exterior structure. So there were over 3 million of these on the ship. There was a theory that they were using substandard materials.
So maybe the rivets weren't made of the best material, for example.
Yeah, there were high concentrates of slag in these, which is like a glass-like material that makes them maybe a little bit more brittle in the cold. But if one of the rivet heads popped off easier, then it could have allowed the seam to open up where the iceberg hit easier and made it bigger than it otherwise would have been.
Some items also show how life on board differed for the social classes, from a sturdy and simple third-class cup to delicate and detailed china for first class. The items retrieved are put on display in exhibitions around the world. RMS Titanic Inc. have the only salvage rights to the ship. What do they say to those who think the wreck's a gravesite that should be left alone?
Titanic is something that we want to respect, and we want to make sure that we're preserving the memory, because not everyone can go down to Titanic, not everyone can go to the ship, and we want to be able to bring that to the public.
The company's latest expedition has identified more objects they'd like to bring back. Who knows what they'll find, and the tales each item may tell. Rebecca Morrell, BBC News, Atlanta, Georgia.